Hello, I'd like to show you how to make this type of flower without using any cutters. The big group would be suitable for on top of a large cake, or this smaller little posy would be fine for, say, an 8-inch cake. When you're giving cakes to people, they quite like to have them on a card like this, because then they'll keep them quite often for years, and as long as they're not in a moist condition, they'll just stay as they are. What I'm using is a roll-out type of icing, which has quite a few different names depending on which part of the world you live, but it is roll-out, and it's the type of icing that's used to cover the cakes. So I'm taking a small piece and I'm rolling it until it hasn't got any creases in between the palms of my hands. Then taking it and making, well, like a rugby ball shape or a cone shape, so it's got a point at the top. My 2 fingers just to make a little neck on it. It's then going to be put up, down on the board. This part round the base will eventually all come off. Each time I do it, I want to make sure that this sausage is nice and smooth. I have here a little bag with sifted icing sugar inside, so that I'll just get sufficient icing sugar for what I need without too much of a cloud of sugar. The roll is approximately the thickness of my thumb, and you put your finger and thumb around ½ an inch from the top. Put it down on the board, place it on the board, and I'm pressing just round the top edge. And as I'm pressing, I'm also lifting the paste up. This is to make sure the paste isn't stuck to the board. So there you have already a petal. To get the petal off, you don't cut it off, you press your thumb in the centre, and as you're pressing your thumb down, you squeeze. So there is your first petal. The petal gets wrapped around this centre bud. See what I've done? I've just overlapped it round there. Now, sometimes the roses tend to get too long, so instead of having the neck part down there, I'm bringing it up a little bit and then placing it on there. Now I'm going to make 2 petals. Before I start, I must tidy up the top edge, otherwise you won't get a pretty petal. Again, there we are, that's smooth now. Press round the top edge. It doesn't matter about the centre, because the centre is going to be hidden, this part here. It's this edge that's going to show, and that's where you want it to be lovely and thin. Again, squeeze and press. There's 1 petal. Tidy up the top. Make sure you've a little dab of icing sugar on there. And again, do the same thing. So you see, it's not too difficult. The one thing I will remind you is to keep picking it up slightly, because especially if it's moist and wet weather, it has got a tendency to stick on the board. So I now pick up the bud shape, and where the overlap is there, I place that in the centre of the petal. Stick the left hand side down. If it's a little bit dry, you can always use a dab of water, and I'll speak to you about that in a moment. Now we've got the left hand side stuck down. You then slot the next petal halfway in and give them a twirl, so you're placing 1 petal on top of another. By the way, if you're a little bit apprehensive about making these flowers, the best thing is to make them in marzipan first before you start on this type of roll-out icing, because marzipan is stiffer and easier to work with. So there, you see what I'm doing? I'm rolling the petals back. And the centre is slightly down. You never have the centre. If you look at these roses, the centre is down inside the petals. It's not sticking up, because if you see real roses, that's the way they are. So there, that's only 3 petals. I'm going to make another 3, and that'll be the finish of the rose, but you can go on and put more petals. I was saying to you, if you wanted to stick the petals down if it was a dry atmosphere, well, you can either do that with a little dab of water, or you can use this edible glue that I've got. You buy it from cake icing shops, and use a good quality paintbrush, because when you're a cake decorator you'll find you need a paintbrush quite often, and if you've only got to buy one or two, you may as well get good qualities. One that has a proportion of sable in it. Now I'm going to make the remaining 3 petals. My thumb in the centre, pull it off, and again, and now the last one. As I say, be careful how much icing sugar you use to roll out the petals or model the petals, because the more icing sugar you use, the drier the paste becomes. Now, this petal is going to go more or less halfway over the last one there. Left hand side, remember, stuck. Slot the next one in. Now this can be a little bit difficult, so you have to keep your fingers near the top of the rose to support the petals. And around. Sometimes they don't overlap as much as you want to. You can give them a little pull, the petals, but that's where marzipan is quite good, because marzipan will stretch more than this paste will, because it's not quite so fine. Alright, there we have it. Now I'm going to turn the petals back. Just do it very delicately. And there's your rose. Now you can either cut the base off, or you can just keep twirling like that. The pressure of your fingers will pull the paste away. If you're putting, well, you will probably be putting it on a cake or on a plaque like this, but if you notice, I haven't got them, apart from the centre flower there, which is facing upright, the other flowers are angled, and it looks much more natural to have them at different angles. There's no point really, I think, in telling you about roses without showing you or telling you a little bit about the leaves to go with them, because the leaves show the roses up. Now, you can have cutters. There's a rose cutter which will give you a serrated edge, and you can also buy veiners that will mark the paste, or you can use a leaf out of the garden, use the back of the leaf, press the leaf into the paste, and you'll get the impression of the veins on the paste. But just a word of warning, at the start of the year, say in the springtime or early summer, the leaves are very young, so you won't get such a strong impression, so maybe you'd be better to buy a veiner, and then you can use it all year round. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that little demonstration, ladies and gentlemen, and as I say, there's an easy type rose to make without using